Good afternoon, everyone. Great. So I'm going to talk to you today about the laws of being a victim, because there are some laws behind this situation. But first, let's find out who is a victim, because that's important to know. A victim is simply someone who's been hurt. I've been hurt. How many in the audience do we have that's been hurt? We've all been hurt by something at some particular point in time. So whenever I was thinking about how I was going to convey my message to you, how I was going to tell you how I overcame the hurt that I was through, I had a repeated theme that was popping up in my head, and that was Newton's laws. And I know, crazy, confusing. I was wondering why it was popping up as well, but it's completely relevant. All three of his laws are completely relevant to recovering from being a victim. First law, because this is jumping around too much. First law, an object will stay in uniform motion unless it's acted upon. That's Newton's first law. His second law is that if you have more force, then you will have more acceleration. Now let's keep it, I'm a mom, not a science teacher, so I don't get these right all the time. But we're going to move through this. Law number 3, for every action there is an equal and opposite reaction. Well, we know what that means when it comes to, if I'm walking on the stage and I trip on something and I fall, then I've definitely went through that first law of motion. But these laws ended up showing up in my life over and over whenever I looked back on this situation. And so this guy, Isaac Newton, that came up with this, I think he's just genius for this. I didn't understand how many areas that these laws of motion can be used in your life. And for me, I was using them in my mind. And so these laws of motion in my mind turned into the 3 laws of freedom, because they are what eventually freed me. Well, freed you from what and why do we even care that you were even free? Well, we're going to start at the beginning. This is me as a cute little toddler. I don't understand why this is bouncing around so much, but this is me as a cute little toddler, clearly in my big sister's bathing suit, there's no doubt there. But life was great for me whenever I was younger. Elementary school was wonderful. I was a very smart student. I had 4 sisters in the house, and we all wrestled that morning on picture day to see who was going to wear that dress. That's why that smile is so big. I won, right? But life was good. I lived in a small town. I had both parents and a house full of brothers and sisters and cousins all over the place, and we were all happy. Everything was going the way it was supposed to go. About a year after that elementary school picture was taken, things started to change a little bit. Our house burned to the ground, and when we moved to the new house, my dad didn't. I was 9 years old at that time. And that really hurt that he did not move with us, and I didn't really understand that. And then my mom got a new boyfriend. And when she got this new boyfriend, he started sexually molesting me. And that hurt more. And I still didn't understand what was going on in this situation. I'm this little girl from a small town who's supposed to just be running around and, borrowing bicycles and everything like that. And my parents have been divorced. Now I'm being abused. What is going on here? Well, shortly after that, we started moving from place to place to avoid the authorities because of what was going on in our home. And because of that, I lost all my friends. And that really hurt. And because we were moving so much and I had so much going on in my life, I couldn't make new friends. And that hurt even more. So I had all these things building up. I've been hurt. Now what? What am I going to do with this situation? I'm on the path to destruction. I didn't even get this path going. Someone else did this for me. But here I am on the path to destruction. So what? Well, When you don't know what to do, you continue doing what you're doing. When I was 13 years old, I decided that being homeless was going to be better than being sexually abused. So I left. I was out. No one protested either. So I lived on the streets for a short amount of time. Then I moved in with a drug dealer who passed me off to a pimp. And I spent the majority of my teenage years with him. Shortly before I was 18 years old, he went to prison for a double murder. And I thought for sure things are going to change now. It's got to change. This is where that first law of being a victim comes into play. This is where that first law stepped into my life. Well, it had already been there. When nothing changes, nothing changes. You have to do something to make things change. And so I had been sent on this path of destruction, and there was nothing stopping me from continuing this path. None of the people that were in my path would jump in the way and say, wait, don't take a step further. So I just kept moving on through this path of destruction, not sure what else to do. Well, I developed a lot of hurt along the way. There were so many people that were supposed to be there to love me. They were supposed to be there to take care of me. Where are these people at? What are they doing? I seen on TV what they're supposed to do. I read in my storybooks what they're supposed to do, and they're not doing it. So this is hurting me more and more. But once you get so much hurt on the inside, sometimes that hurt turns into anger, and it certainly was for me. I was angry about the things they had put me through. I was angry about the situation they left me in. I was angry about the road that I was on. All of this because I was hurt. I was a victim. I started using this anger in different ways. I started using the anger on myself, and I started using the anger on others. I really developed a bad attitude. You couldn't talk to me about anything. I didn't want to hear anything that you had to say because everyone so far has lied to me, and not only have they lied to me, they've hurt me, so get away. I don't want to hear anything that you got to say. And I made sure that if you didn't already know that I was a victim, I didn't want you to know. And so I worked hard at being real hard. I wanted to be tough, and I was tough. People were afraid of me. They all ran. That's exactly what I wanted. Because if they weren't around, they couldn't hurt me. I was eliminating my chances of being hurt. I didn't realize what all I was eliminating. I became the person that they were. I became the abuser in my world. I took all that hurt and that anger from being a victim, and I started lashing out at other people. And it got so bad that I didn't know who I was anymore. I was doing things that were completely out of my character. I felt like I was splitting into two people, one with all the anger, the other with all the hurt. On one side, I would be planning and strategizing everything bad you can think of. On the other side, I'm planning and strategizing how am I going to keep this girl out of trouble? Because I had it coming left and right. But I didn't care about trouble because I didn't care about myself. And I certainly didn't care about others. And because I had this dual situation going on, I'm dealing with one Shauna who's full of hurt and one Shauna who's full of anger. Shauna was doing different things. So a friend of mine, or I called her a friend of mine, had upset me one day. She ticked me off. So I knew she would be in there watching TV. We were in a setting where we had access to each other. So she's in there watching TV. I run into the room with a sheet. I throw it over. I beat the crap out of her, and I run around the other side of the room. I come back in, she's crying, she's holding her face. What happened? She said, I don't know, I didn't see, I don't know. Somebody, I said, oh my God, who would do this to you? What? This is what being a victim can do to you. If you have so much anger and hurt going on that you don't know what to do with it, it will start doing things for you. It will make the moves for you. So we got to pay attention to the feelings that we're taking in and the feelings that we produce and the actions and behaviors that we produce because of those feelings that we're taking in. Now, because I didn't care about myself and I didn't care about others, all bets were off on criminal activity. Laws? Whose laws? All them people were breaking laws against me, and all the police cared about was the laws I was breaking. What I needed them to do was look into my situation and see what was going on. What they wanted me to do was sit down and tell them, oh, I'm a victim and this is... I didn't know how to do that. I had no idea to tell anyone about what was going on because I was trained to shut up and not tell anyone. And so I kept everything inside. Even the things that I was doing to people, and I would be upset with myself over doing these things to people, I kept it all inside. I didn't go apologize. I didn't say, how can we make this right? I just kept it all inside, and I kept marching down that road to destruction that they had me on. Just like Newton's first law, if you kick a rock out into space, it's going to keep on going forever. Nothing changes until you do. So I had all these problems that were building up. And as I was growing up, because I'm still growing up in this situation, time does not wait for you, it keeps moving. So I had all these problems, and I'm growing up, I've had some children, I'm working in the real world, I can't keep beating people up, that doesn't work in the office setting, okay, they get a little upset. So I've got to come up with something different. I had no clue what to do, so what I did was I took all of my problems, I gathered them all together, y'all come here, come on, all you problems, there's a lot of y'all wrangling, hey, problem, come on, over here, we're all over here right now. Y'all get in this box, get in this little box right here. So I put them all in this little black box, and I shoved it way back in the back of my head. I figured, if I pretend like it's not there, right? Wrong. All of those problems that I shoved into that box, they were leaking out into my brain. They were causing self-esteem problems. They were causing depression. And depression and self-esteem problems, they take you right back to the anger and the hurt. And then you go spinning in this circle. Anger, abuser, problems, criminal problems. All of this because you were hurt, because you were a victim. So I got all these words swirling around me. But I'm still moving forward to the path of destruction because nothing has changed. Nothing has changed, still moving forward. So, what am I going to do about this situation? I got a job, and in that job, I got my chance at a management position. First time. I had gone to business school because I had the kids and I needed to make more money. McDonald's wasn't cutting it. So I did go to business school and got myself into the office, and then I was offered that management position. Well, as a part of that management position, he gives me this pack of paperwork, take this in the conference room and do all these papers, and on one of those papers was a personality test. I think my personality was the last one that you wanted to write down on paper and turn it in and say, give me a job based on this. Yeah, no, not so much. Well, a lot of those words, I didn't even know what they meant. I missed out on most of high school. I had other things going on. I was with my pimp, working the streets. Not in my Algebra 2 book or doing my vocabulary words, so I didn't know what they meant. There were some of those words I could use in a sentence because I heard other people use it in a sentence, but I really didn't know what the word meant. So I go back to my boss and I said, I can't do it. Here's your papers. Take your job. Can't do it. He said, Shauna, take this home, do your 4th grade vocabulary words, and come back with this finished. I'm like, man, you are not paying me to do homework. I'm on a job. I'm not in school. I'm not doing homework. He said, Shauna, take the paper home. I said, all right, I'll take the paper home. Only because you're paying me. That's the only reason why I'm taking this paper home. So I took this paper home and I got myself a dictionary and I started making my way through those words and writing out the definitions. And I was writing out the definitions of the words, and these are all attributes. These are all words that describe your behavior. So it forced me to think about my behavior, which is, it was back in that little black box. So I had to go dig in and, figure out, does this word describe me? Does this word not describe me? And then whenever I started making my way through that dictionary and coming across some of those words, I found some that did describe me. Menace. A person who wants to do harm or damage. I was certainly a menace. Any of y'all see that menace? Don't be a menace to society while drinking your juice in the hood. Don't be a menace to society while carrying around anger and hurt from being victimized, because that's certainly where I was. Insubordinate. Now, this was a word that I kind of already knew, because at work, you can get fired for insubordination. So insubordination meant get fired. I didn't understand what the definition was. It was being defiant of authority, disobeying others. There was an actual definition behind that word. Callous. This one I didn't know at all whenever I seen it on paper. I'd never come across this word, but it described me perfectly. Having a mean and cruel attitude towards others described me perfectly. But I also had a mean and cruel attitude towards myself. It wasn't just towards others. Because of all the things that not only had I been through, but the things that I was doing to other people, I really started to dislike myself because I was getting older and I had children and I didn't want someone to do that to my children. And so it made me really start thinking about things. And I was going through those words and I'm looking at these words and I'm like, okay, what makes me this word and not this word? And if someone else can be that positive word, why can't I? So, because someone else can be that positive word doesn't mean that you can't be that positive word. We can be any word we choose to be. I didn't even know some of those words, and I chose to be them. We all choose to be different words. And so because I had all these bad words on me and I was learning the definitions of them, which was telling me about my own behavior that I had stuffed in the box and wasn't going to think about anymore, I became more angry again. And I was real upset going through these words. Menace, insubordinate, callous. Who did this? I know who did this. All those people that abused me did this, and they need to come back and help me fix this. I didn't do this by myself. They got some responsibility in this too. Where are they at? Where's their work that needs to be put in? I'm not the only one that needs to be doing my vocabulary words. Well, I got news for you. No one's coming. None of those people that hurt you are going to come back after the fact and fix you. Good friend told me, you're not always the person who causes your problems, but you are the only one that can make the decision to fix them. You can get all the wonderful advice in the world, and it's not going to matter. I can stand up here and talk to you for 14 days straight. I'll probably get a little hungry, but it wouldn't matter. What matters is when you decide to make a change. And so that's what I had done. I had finally decided that I was not going to continue doing nothing. I was going to make a change. Because law number one of being a victim says, nothing will change until you do. And so I did. Change has to start somewhere, and it started with the words in that dictionary. So I started seeking out more words in that dictionary that I could work with. As soon as I got finished with a word, I would run back to the dictionary and get another word. Well, what do you mean finish with a word? I would just practice. With each of the words, I would just practice doing it or practice not doing it. And if I practice enough, then it became me. So I started practicing words like helpful. Well, I wasn't helpful at all whenever I was a teenager or much as a young adult. But I started practicing words like helpful, giving help to others, being of service, being useful. So if you see that someone's in need and you're sitting over here tweeting, you can see that they done spilled everything and they're trying hard to gather their things together. Put your phone down and go help. It doesn't take but a second, and it builds your character. It only takes little movements to pile up on top of each other to be successful with these words and build your character. Obedient. Shauna, obedient? No, we hadn't heard that one in a long time. Yes, I was finally willing to obey. And I actually started seeking out places where I can obey others. That was very difficult for me to do because I knew exactly what my idea was of what I was supposed to be doing. I had been running my own life, for a long time, and so I didn't feel like I needed to obey others, but I did, because it's important to be able to obey others and follow instructions. This is what gets you through life. And so I practiced being obedient. Considerate. This is one that was actually very difficult for me. You would think being considerate should be an easy thing. It was very difficult because in order for me to be considerate, I had to be caring about other people's feelings, and I didn't care about myself much. So how am I going to care about someone else? Fake it till you make it. Honestly, that's what I did. I started pretending that I cared. Oh, girl, how are you doing today? How was work? I don't care what's going on with your day. But I had to practice. In order to get this right, I had to practice. And so I practiced these words so that I could develop myself. And because I was putting in the extra work to practice these words, I made it to law number 2. Law number 2 of being a victim: little problems need little effort. So if you've got a little situation going on, for example, the other day at work, I come in, I've got a great, nice new pair of pants. They got this pinstripe on them. I think they look really, really good. I paired them with a great shirt, and I go strutting into the office. Y'all see me today? I know y'all see me in my new pants today. Y'all know it's looking good. And my girlfriend said, yeah, that's a nice color. They don't look good from the back, Shauna. I said, you get the... Well, then don't look at me from the back. But you still got to make adjustments because that hurt my feelings for about that long. So little problems need just a little bit of effort. But big problems, you're going to need some big effort to fix those problems. I had to practice all the time, every day. This was not a weekend gig. I did not become the way I was in a weekend, and it wasn't going to be fixed in a weekend. This is something I had to practice every single solitary day so that I could move through this situation and overcome it. So as I'm moving through this situation, I develop new words because I'm starting to get good at this. Leader. Oh, I'd never seen myself as a leader, but all of a sudden, I'm thinking about this word leader. I want to lead others. Well, I had kind of sort of led others in the past, not actually in the right direction or anything, but I was leading them. So I had a little bit of an idea of what a leader was. I just needed to get my character right so that I could lead them in the right direction. So I became a leader. That management position pulled through. I didn't exactly tell the truth on that personality test that day, but I knew that I would eventually get to be those words. And so I picked the words that was me, and some of the words that were almost me, that I could bend to be me, like this one day when I was kind of pleasant. Those words were mine. So I also got mentor. Mentor, a person who's an experienced advisor. That's one. I needed a mentor, but by the time I had grown up and understood that I needed a mentor, it was too late. So I became a mentor. Advocate. That's one of my favorite words now. Advocate, a person who publicly supports a cause. Well, I most definitely publicly support a cause. It was a cause that I had stuffed into that little black box. All of those issues between me and my pimp that I was with through all of my years. So I developed AngelsGoToWork. AngelsGoToWork is an agency that does human trafficking awareness presentations all over the state of Arizona, and we're moving into other states. So we're growing because this problem is huge. We also do street outreach right here in the valley, and we rescue young girls from the street and young women from the street. I work with various youth groups. I got several youth groups in my audience today. Holler at me. But we also partnered up with Dr. Leanne Underwood and Argosy University to do a human trafficking trauma training for professionals who work in the field, who are going to be dealing with these victims who are coming off the street, because they need to understand the mind of this victim, which is very different from the mind of your typical individual. Not too many people will go abuse someone and then circle back around and console them. That's a victim who does that. Whenever I was beginning the work on AngelsGoToWork, which we've been going about 3 years now, but when I was beginning the work on AngelsGoToWork, I was still dealing with a couple of really huge words, really big. Those words were shame, guilt, and they were causing depression for me. I had to do something to get over those words, and so I started seeking harder on how I was going to fix this, and I found a new definition, and it worked. Forgive. I know, crazy. How are you going to forgive? You're going to hunt down your pimp and forgive your pimp? Really? Yes. You know why? Because I found out what forgive actually means. It's not for them. It's for you. They don't even have to know that they were forgiven. You don't have to say you're sorry to anybody. There's no apology there. You just forgive. And forgiving just means that you stop feeling angry and resentful. It means that I'm going to take this big old bag of resentment that's been holding me down, and I'm just going to set it down. I'm going to leave it over here. Peace out. Holler back. I ain't got time for you no more. That took me to law number 3 of being a victim. I was able to forgive because I had started change. And because I was able to start change, move to a place that I forgive, I was finally changed in a past tense sense. And that allowed me to begin healing. So let's look back over those laws of motion. For Newton, number 1, an object will stay in uniform motion until acted upon. Law number 1 of being a victim, nothing will change until you do. Law number 2 for Newton, the more force, the more acceleration. Law number 2 for being a victim, little problems, just take a little bit of effort. But if you got big problems, you need to put big effort to it. And if you got a big problem and if you think little effort is going to fix it, think again. It's not going to work. Finally, law number 3, for every action, there is an equal and opposite reaction. And the third law of being a victim, as I reiterate, if you forgive, you can actually start to have healing. And that's what you need most, is to get to the point that you can forgive and let go of the things that happened to you. It doesn't make it okay. All it says is, I'm not going to continue to victimize myself anymore. I'm putting it down. I'm walking away. Peace out, y'all.